be able to talk to you guys today. Just a little bit about introducing myself before I get started. I'm Dr. Michelle Holcomb. I work in the Bernie community, and I have a private practice there. I work with student athletes as well at the University of Texas at San Antonio, and I also am a full-time assistant professor at Our Lady of the Lake University, and I teach online, and I have some of my fabulous, wonderful students here today. So I know that I had a lot of requests, a lot of questions, a lot of personal emails about anxiety, some of the symptoms that people are experiencing and that sort of thing. So I wanted to I just got an idea. I thought I would offer, a speaking series. So tonight is a speaking series for adults only. I'm really not going to address parenting strategies. That's actually another talk that I'm going to give on Monday morning, and that'll be for children and parents. I'm doing a talk tomorrow for athletes. So a lot of our athletes have, and probably a lot of your, some of you that are in education, some of your students, some of you that are working in schools, I know I see a lot of teachers here as well, that an abrupt end to your athletic situation can be really, really difficult. So some people haven't been able to fulfill the things that they need to do academically. I've had some seniors that shot their last round of golf a couple of weeks ago and didn't even realize that was their last round of golf in high school and in college. So it's a very difficult time for athletes as well. I also will work with, I'll do a series on adolescence, and that'll be more of less of a presentation style, but more of a connection style. So if you have adolescents or adolescents that might benefit from just gaining information on how to socially connect and deal with anxiety and deal with their parents, I would love to have them on the call. And so kind of the format of how I'm going to do this is I'm going to be sharing my screen. It's going to be a PowerPoint presentation to start. And then what I'll do is I'll open up the, once we're done with the PowerPoint presentation, I'll open it up to questions that you guys may have, or even some ideas that maybe some of you guys are already doing in your homes, in your community, some sort of self-care strategies that you're doing that work for you that maybe other people could benefit from. So I will share my screen and we will get started. Maybe. There we go. It'll just take a second. All right, y'all able to see my screen yet? No. Aha, here we go. All right. Hold on, just a little technical difficulties here. All right. Are y'all able to see my screen now?
No.
No. Okay, let me start over. If my mouse would work, that would be nice. Okay. I assume you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Fabulous. Thank you. Oopsies. Okay, so I'll introduce myself, so we're moving on from there. Okay, so what is anxiety? Anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, unease, typically about an imminent event or something with uncertain outcome. Does this sound familiar? I would assume that all of you can relate to this feeling right now, and I think the anxiety that we're feeling right now is very normal considering our circumstances. People that have struggles with, anxiety clinically are oftentimes worried about things that aren't quote unquote related to kind of what's going on right now. So anyone feeling anxiety with COVID-19, you're in a very normal range of experiencing that. So right now, I feel like there's 3 triggers to our current state of anxiety. The first trigger is having a lack of control. Our control was taken away from us pretty immediately. Although I do think that with some of the news and media, we have had some warning signs. I think just removing and going into social distancing and that sort of thing felt like it happened overnight. So our lack of control of our schedule, our lack of control of our situation, our lack of control of getting what we need at the grocery store, and that sort of thing is one of the triggers. The second trigger is social isolation. That can really heighten our anxiety as well. Grieving the loss of our routines, our hobbies, like I mentioned earlier, our athletes that are grieving the loss of their seasons, and actually having fun. Having carefree fun where you don't have worry and anxiety related to germs or somebody getting sick or passing it on to, an older family member. Those are all triggers for the current state of anxiety that we're in as a whole. Lack of control. So when it comes to anxiety, one of the things that I see oftentimes with my clients, whether they be young adults or even adults, is they're highly anxious because they lose the ability to have control over their situation. Maybe it's lack of control of their impulses. It could be lack of control of their home environment. It could be lack of control of their health. But I see this as being one of the main triggers for anxiety. So it was the number 1 trigger for anxiety prior to COVID-19, but now you can imagine that trigger has heightened quite a bit. Human beings have a need to feel safe and secure. That's how we're all wired. All human beings need to feel safe and secure. So safety and security is established when humans feel in control and can anticipate what's happening next. That's why children do very well with schedules. That's why adults do very well with schedules. And so when there's a shift in our schedule, we feel anxiety because we feel a lack of control in our life. And so it's very important that we recognize that, I'm not overreacting in my situation when it comes to experiencing what we're experiencing right now, that this is a normal trigger for anxiety. So one of the issues with lack of control when we're trying to assert control is the amygdala. So humans tend to jump into a fight, flight, or freeze response when it comes to crisis. And I know I have a picture of a grocery cart with full of food and dog food and cat food and goldfish crackers to feed a daycare and that sort of thing. And so oftentimes, I've had a lot of friends go, I don't understand why people are overstocking with food, because the amygdala has taken over and they're in this fight or flight response where their logical brain is not really functioning. Even though they're told that we have plenty of food in the warehouses at H-E-B and the different grocery stores around the nation, still people feel like they're in crisis, and the amygdala part of the brain takes over, which is very protective. There's a reason for that, because we don't want to be thinking logically when we're trying to save our own life. But in this situation, the amygdala has taken over in a lot of people, and then that creates a lot of anxiety. I do think that for parents, there is this need to feel like, I really need to make sure that my family survives. So as much as we kind of joke about, or at least people have joked with me about filling carts full of food and that, oh man, it's not okay and slow down and that sort of thing, it's a human being's way of trying to help their family survive. Whether it's right or wrong, it is the amygdala reaction to that situation. And when the amygdala is in control and we are not in crisis and our life is not in danger, it creates an imbalance, which you're seeing in this shopping cart. That shopping cart, we probably need 2 shopping carts to manage the food in that one shopping cart. So how to stop your amygdala from taking over. This is one of the things that I deal with quite a bit in my private practice, especially when it comes to working with athletes on sports performance. Oftentimes they do feel a need, the amygdala takes over and they get super anxious, and then it gets in the way of their sports performance. So I think one of the ways of stopping your amygdala from taking over and getting back into your frontal lobe or your wise mind is to acknowledge that you feel threatened, stressed, or in crisis. Just to acknowledge it. I feel stressed. I feel threatened. I feel like I need to feed my family and my neighbors and that sort of thing. I am in crisis. This is something that we don't know what's going to happen next, and we truly don't. We can look at the rates with China, and we can look at the rates with Italy, but we're in a different situation as Americans. So we truly don't know what's happening next, which is very stressful. So that's the first step in having to stop the amygdala. So acknowledging that it's there, that you're in crisis mode, with the ability to calm down and take control. Because the amygdala is so strong, and because we are in such a fight, flight, or freeze mode when it comes to the amygdala, it takes a little bit of time for us to unwind and be able to calm down. So there's a couple of techniques that I often talk to my clients about, and one is deep breathing. And deep breathing isn't just taking 5 steps. I mean, there's a process that goes along with deep breathing if you're learning it in a therapeutic setting. And so, you can Google it, you can read about it. It's often on meditation and mindfulness apps. But deep breathing is an exercise you have to practice when you're not having an anxiety attack, or you're not in the midst of anxiety, or you're not having your amygdala take over. So deep breathing needs to occur, and the practice of deep breathing needs to occur outside of your anxiety situation. Grounding techniques are really, really helpful. And one of the things that I do with my clients, especially with the athletes, is I ask them to think about their 5 senses. What can I see? What can I smell? What can I touch? What can I feel? Those different senses, all the different senses, and then you look around. What can I see? What do I see? What do I taste? What do I feel? What do I hear? What can I touch? And you do that over and over again to get yourself out of the crisis mindset and to look at what's going on around you. Visualization is another technique that you can use to calm down. And again, the deep breathing, the visualization, and the mindfulness techniques need to be practiced and done outside of your situation. So if you decide these are the things I want to use grounding techniques, I want to use deep breathing, I want to use visualization, and you expect for it to work in that moment of crisis, it's not going to. You need to practice it ahead of time. So after you've managed your calmness, then you can engage your frontal lobe, and then you can use your wise mind. So you guys are learning some really awesome therapeutic techniques here. It's a quick lesson, and oftentimes therapists spend sessions breaking this down. So this is just somewhat of an introductory of using the different techniques. And I will give you, for those of you that don't have my contact information, I will give you my contact information, my email address after this. And then if you have any questions or you need direction to some of these resources where you can really dig in and learn about it, I'm happy to share those with you. Okay, so finding control using a wise mind. For my students that are online right now, this is actually a DBT technique that we use for DBT therapists use. There are 3 types of minds that we typically use when we're making decisions or navigating through our day. We have the rational mind, which is our intellectual mind, where we...
Oh my gosh!
Hi! I hear somebody talking. If y'all can please mute yourself, that'd be great. So the rational mind, decisions are based on what makes intellectual sense. Thinking logically and focusing on the facts, comparing current experiences to past experiences, suppressing and ignoring emotions. So that's your rational mind. Okay, and a lot of times people think, well, I need to be in my rational mind to make a good decision. Well, not necessarily, because then you're negating all of your emotional responses to that situation. So if you completely neglect your emotional mind, then it's probably not going to be the best decision. So the emotional decision, as you probably well can guess, its decisions are based on what feels good. You think and focus on your emotions. You're reactive and defensive in your decisions rather than thinking about it and using some of your rational mind. And it's often the actual opposition or the opposite of your rational mind. So where we want to be in this diagram is in the middle. We need to be in our wise mind. So what the idea is striking a balance between the rational mind and the emotional mind, living mindfully in your situation, honoring and nurturing emotional mind while trying to act rationally. So you're honoring your emotion. This is how I feel about it. Okay, what does my rational mind or my intellectual mind think about this situation, and being able to weigh the pros and cons of decisions or your situation with both. So in this situation, when we think about the flight or flight response, once you calm down, you have to use the facts, which you would find in your rational mind. Then you think about how you feel. And if you can combine those and you make decisions out of your wise mind, you're in a much better situation. So again, this is a DBT technique that we use in therapy for my students that are taking notes. And you will learn more about it as you matriculate through our program. But it's something that can be very, very helpful for anyone, even if you're not in the counseling program at OLU. Okay, so the things I like about the wise mind. Behavior is not emotionally reactive. Facts and emotions are balanced, and decisions are informed by both. So in this situation, in this picture, you know, people are not hoarding food. They're sharing food. Everyone's taking what they can eat and leaving the rest for other people. A wise-minded person would be doing food this way, knowing and being assured that there's plenty of food down the road for people. Okay, the second component that I feel like is really triggering right now is the social distancing and social isolation. Social distancing has been really hard. I don't know about you guys, but it's been pretty difficult because I find myself to be an extrovert. So, you know, being in a social distancing situation is difficult. I'm very busy. My kids are very busy. They're involved in a lot of things. And so being able to pull back and really be disciplined about my social distancing personally has been a challenge for me. So the social distancing right now is necessary for the well-being of the human race. If you look at Johns Hopkins University just put out and I can send that to you if you guys are interested, but it's a rolling statistic of the cases, how many deaths have happened as a result of COVID-19, how many cases they're currently on per state, and how many people are outside of that 14-day quarantine and are doing better. So it's a rolling statistic, and they compare every country with every little area, region of different countries. You can kind of look that up. For some, that might create more anxiety to have access to that, but for others, it might make you feel more self-assured. But the one thing I do know from reading and watching and seeing that rolling statistic going, that social distancing is the way that we can get our kids back in school, that we can get back into work, that restaurants can reopen, that bars can reopen, that people can have fun again. So we have to put ourselves aside and work together for the greater good, which can be more challenging for some than others. And some people are not practicing social distancing. But I think there's definitely a difference between social distancing and social isolation. No one is asking anyone to socially isolate. I would discourage anyone that is considering social isolation to not be doing that, because it's not healthy. Human beings are meant to roam in herds. We live in community, and when we live in community, we are the best version of ourselves. Human contact is necessary for people to be strong and well and happy. So, and it makes us feel good when we have human contact. So that being said, you know, it's important for us to practice social distancing, but socially isolating is not good. The one group that I do worry about a little bit are people that live alone. They are going to have to be more mindful and take more action into being socially connected the best that they can. So those of you that have friends and family members, or maybe you yourself live alone, it's very important for you to reach out to them, FaceTime, get on social media and that sort of thing, and really try to engage them, because it can be very lonely, as you can imagine, when we're all practicing social distancing and they don't have the personal visits, the face-to-face visits that they've had before. So social distancing has been the second factor that I think has created a lot of anxiety, not only in our children, but also in us. Of course, I mentioned the difference between social isolation and being socially connected.
I'm gonna go watch this. It's only got like 30 minutes left.
So I think one of the hardest parts too with social isolation or social distancing is that human touch, being able to hug your friends. I went up to my church today, and our pastor's wife, we were both just like wanting to hug, and I couldn't hug her and she couldn't hug me, and it was really socially awkward and uncomfortable, and then we both laughed and kind of moved on. But it's just a natural tendency, especially for those of us that are huggers. It's very hard. It takes a lot of self-control to not want to do that. And physical touch is really important because it does feed the human soul in that way. So unfortunately, we're limiting it to immediate family, but knowing that we can eventually hug again is really important. So again, steering away from the mentality that we're being socially isolated and focusing on ways in which you can use the social distancing and figure out how to socially connect, I think is going to be healthy for not only you, but your loved ones and your children. So what can you do to socially connect? FaceTime, Skype. You can exercise online together, play cards with your friends on FaceTime. A lot of teenagers and kids do like the house party app where they all get on. There's like 15 of them on that. You can do that as well. My daughter yesterday had she's in theater, so she had her and all her theater friends, and we had some kids playing the guitars and different instruments. Some of them were singing. They were all just going about their day just on a house party because they needed to be able to see each other and be able to talk. And some of them weren't even talking or interacting. They just had each other on that, and it was comforting for her. I know that for sure, because when she left the house party online, she had a little pep in her step. So it was really neat to see. All right, next slide. So connectedness, what does that look like? I think now in America, in our culture, and probably in the world, the ability to socially connect, our skills in being able to do that have been stifled a little bit because of social media. It's very easy to socialize. There are people that can socialize great, that can work a room and talk, but they're not able to connect on a deep level. Connecting on a deep level is a soul thing. And with social distancing, you can't fake deep connection. So you're going to be charged with the opportunity or challenged with the opportunity to truly make the effort and be purposeful in your connection with others. And it's a little bit harder than in your connection that you typically do when you socialize on a surface level. The good side about having social distancing and being challenged with social connectedness in this way is when we do all get back together, those connections with the people that you have made effort with from a social distancing perspective is going to be much stronger than it has ever been. It does take time. It does take effort. It does take vulnerability for that social connectedness to work. One of the tips that I often talk to my younger kids about when they're struggling with social skills is to just talk less and listen more. I think human beings in a lot of ways, all joking aside, are a little vain. And so we like to talk about ourselves. So, one of the social skills that we can use in order to gain connection is to allow yourself to listen to what they're saying, trying to put yourself in their shoes, put yourself in their experience and seek understanding. So one of the ways to combat the social distancing is to purposely connect and create social connectedness with others. So I would challenge this group to pick 3 or 4 people in your mind and think about being purposeful in your connection with them. Oh, how we miss the good old days. So I'm going to go through these little slides real quick. Basketball's over, NBA's over. My son's sports, baseball, school, teenage school, middle school, the NCAA tournament. Very sad. Track and field events, all the kids, the high school kids, the college kids, that were planning to win state championships and regionals and that sort of thing, who were vetted, your top 5 in the nation, they don't have that opportunity. For the athletes that are seniors, wow, that's a hard one. We miss it all. I miss flying, being able to look out the window and see the clouds and see the sunset or the sunrise. That's something that I miss. Being able to go to the beach without having to practice the, I don't know, is it 6 feet or 10 feet apart now at this point? Hanging out with friends, socializing, having a glass of wine, being able to catch up on your week and not worry about whether or not if you touched the same, dish that something would be passed from one to the other. And last but not least, missing toilet paper. The freedom to pick toilet paper up and, and do that freely. I don't understand the toilet paper thing still, but, that's something I still haven't figured out. The third component that I think really, really triggers us as individuals, as human beings right now, and in the midst of all the COVID-19 things, is loss. We've experienced loss, and it's okay to grieve that. We've lost our freedom. We've lost our freedom to go about our day without thinking about getting sick. For those of us that are fortunate that don't have predisposed, health issues, we don't think about that on a daily basis. And now we're forced to do that. To do what you want without feeling responsible for the human race. Those that are practicing really good social distancing feel charged with taking responsibility for making sure that we're slowing down the spread of the virus. The loss of plans, canceled events, canceled life milestones, trips, graduations, weddings, funerals. Some countries are not even hosting funerals at this point because they can't gather to grieve their loved ones. That's a huge loss of plans, a loss of people, a loss of big life events that make it very, very difficult. Plans for financial future is very uncertain for many. So those plans that you had already to establish your financial future might have to be reevaluated because right now it's really, really hard. I heard a statistic yesterday on the news that 3 out of 5 people work in hourly paid jobs in America. So there are going to be a lot of people with financial futures that are going to be in the imbalance and dealing with this grief and loss. Loss of patience. I say this jokingly, but I don't say it jokingly because when families are together too much, sometimes it's really hard. And everyone kind of has to have their own thing going on. So, for a lot of parents with kids at home and you're working from home, it creates a lot of stress. For some kids and families, being at home isn't ideal. Sometimes it's safer to be at school. So we need to think about those kids as well. For my students that teach and work in the schools, I know that you guys are really thinking about that and experiencing those, thinking about your students as well. Okay, so we're going to talk about coping strategies. I think one of the most important coping strategies that we can use is to reframe our thinking. We have to embrace change. We don't have a choice. We are in our situation and there's nothing we can do about it. So you can either fight it and live in a fear-based situation, or you can reframe your thinking. So one thing you can think about is, this is something we are all going through and we will be okay. Just giving yourself that assurance is we're all going through it together. Our country has gone through some really difficult times. We think about all the different wars from the past and the Great Depression. Americans will pull themselves up by their bootstraps and we will overcome this. We just all need to do our part. And so I think if you're doing your part and you feel good about that and you have a positive mindset, just remembering that it's going to be okay. We're going to get through it. This isn't the forever and ever way of being right now. You can change your life by changing the way you view it. That's something that I talk to my clients about all the time. Your viewpoint is your decision. You can change that viewpoint at any time. And of course, there's histories of, loss and grief and trauma, and we have to work through that. But we all are the decision makers in trying to figure out how we're going to change the way we view things in life. And our attitude informs our behavior. So if we choose, a negative kind of outlook on this, then we're going to have negative experiences. And if we choose in a positive outlook on this, then we, in turn, should have more of a positive experience. Whatever you focus on is going to be what you become. So focusing on embracing the change, I think there's a couple of things that you can do to distract yourself from the scary part of all this. And one is we've been given a blessing in a lot of ways, although it's been really, really shocking and difficult and kind of jarring to have all of this change occur at one time. It has given us a little reprieve from our daily life, which can be really stressful for many of us and very overscheduled. So being able to take time and review your life goals. Think about what you want to do. If you had an opportunity to start over, which I feel like for a lot of us, this is a reset. This can be an opportunity for a reset if we choose to have that be a reset. So we need to my suggestion would be for all of us, me included, to take time to review your life goals. Reevaluate your priorities. What do you want to keep when you're not practicing encouraged to practice social distancing anymore? And what do you want to throw away? Embracing your time with your loved ones, even though they're super annoying at times, just really trying to embrace it and realize that this is such a short window in the end and such a short gift that we're given to really kind of dig in and try to find the unique things that are going on with everyone. I had a conversation in my car with my kids, and my son is 7 years old. And so today I just kind of wanted to check in with them and see how they were doing. And I asked them, what do you miss the most about school? And, my daughter, of course, answered. And then my son was like, well, I miss my friends. I said, well, what do you like about being at home? And he said, I like playing with my Hot Wheels. And I said, great. I said, what do you worry about? And he goes, I don't worry about anything. Why should I be worried? And I just thought it was really, really funny because that's what makes him unique, and he's not worried at all about anything. And he knows, we haven't kept from him about the virus and why he's not in school and why we're social isolating and why it's important to wash your hands. But he's just like, all right, well, let's just roll. Everything's going to be okay. So I love that attitude. And I think that embracing that uniqueness in him helps me be a little more carefree as well. Being able to meditate. For those of you that haven't, but have always said, I really like to learn to meditate, this is your time to do it. Especially if you're homebound and working from home. Get up early. You can take a nap, whatever you need to do in the middle of the day if it's too early, but try to practice mindfulness work and try to practice meditation. And the last thing that I think that I want to challenge everybody on here to do, and I'm going to do as well, is to create a vision board. And I'm going to teach you guys how to do that. Again, I will give you this, all you need to do is email me and I can give you this PowerPoint. So don't worry about writing anything down. But what is a vision board? It allows individuals to manifest their life goals. This is often used in life coaching. It's often used in therapy. It's a really great tool to be focused on solution-focused ideas and positive strengths in people. So what you'll do is whatever size vision board you want, you can do. You can do a poster board size. You can do a couple of pieces of paper. I would think a poster board size would probably be best because as you start adding these things, you'll realize that you probably need a bigger sheet of paper than just a regular sheet of paper. But finding pictures that represent the experiences, feelings, and possessions you want to attract in your life. So this whole idea about a vision board is if we can visualize it and if we manifest it in a vision board setting, that we can manifest it to happen in our lives. Whatever we attract will be. So that whole idea of visioning and vision board work it comes from that. So you can get, from your vision board, look at photos, your own photos, magazine art, magazine photos, Google Images. A picture of yourself and I have a little star by that one because it's really important to add a picture of yourself to that. If it's your vision board, you can put a picture of you separate and then do you and your family on there as well. Or you can put every family member on there that you want in your vision board. Affirmations, quotes. For those of you that, have a religious or spiritual affiliation, to be able to put, Bible quotes or that sort of thing, if that's something that, you feel is important to you, different thoughts, adding pictures depicting goals and dreams. So you have things that you're currently, experiencing, like your own photo of yourself, and then you add pictures of what your goals are in the future. Positive images and positive emotions only on this vision board, nothing negative. And it needs to be simple. If the vision board is too cluttered, then it creates and manifests a cluttered life. So we want to make sure that it's not super organized. We want it to be creative and artsy, but we don't want it to be overlapped. Like, I know that when I was little, I was asked, I think it was 5th or 6th grade, to cut out from magazines all the things that I liked. And my poster board was just overlaid with probably 100 different things on this poster board. That's not really what we're looking for in here. We're looking for something that's a little less than that, a lot less than that. Okay, so more about the vision board. Making 2 vision boards would be really, really helpful for people. You have a personal vision board, and then you have a career vision board. And you leave it in a place where you can see it every day. So you're going to take a look at your vision board, and you're going to look at it in the morning. Then you're going to look at your vision board, and you're going to look at it in the evening. And you're going to just take time. And that might be where you practice your deep breathing too, to be a great combination. Look at your vision board, and then do your deep breathing in the morning and the evening to just kind of let it sink in and soak in a little bit. And then you will see with your vision board. I would love to challenge you, and please email me and let me know how it goes with your vision board. I hope that your goals and everything come to fruition for you. But as your goals are met off of that vision board, then you want to acknowledge the goals that are achieved and celebrate that personally. And do not remove anything from your vision board. You leave that on your vision board. A lot of people will check their goal, put a check next to their goals as they go. And I think it's really important to not do that, because that's part of your journey and part of your experience, and you don't want to remove that from this. The other thing that we encourage is to keep your vision boards. So, and you create a new vision board every year, which I did not put on here, but you want to add that. You want to create a vision board every year, and then you keep them. And it's almost like a journaling or a diary that you have. And I think this is a super fun activity that you can do with your children, for those of you that are parents. And it's a great time to do that, because again, if you see this and view this as a reset in your life, then a vision board would be really appropriate at this time. And again, keeping those, you can actually, for those of you that actually do journaling, if you've ever looked back, 3 years ago or 5 years ago in your journaling, you can see the progress that you've made or the progress that you haven't made. So keeping those vision boards give you that opportunity to look back and see what your progress is, and if you're meeting the goals that you need to meet, that you desire to meet. So in summary, and then we'll have an opportunity to do question and answer and that sort of thing. We'll have about 15 minutes left. In summary, I think, we're going to be okay. And it's super normal to feel anxious right now. It's normal to feel, stress about social distancing. It's normal to feel some loss. We all have had loss. Some of us more than others, and some of us will continue to have more loss than others. But just being able to acknowledge that that's normal, and sitting with it, and then validating those feelings, and then being able to move forward and not sitting in that muck that you don't want to sit in. Your loss, you want to figure out how to move forward in it, but acknowledging it, validating it, and then making a plan to move forward will be really important. Creating a vision board, I think, will help on that last piece of moving forward and being able to stay future focused in that way. So that's why I wanted to tie in a vision board into this presentation, because I think if we're acknowledging our stress, we're acknowledging it's hard to socially, distance, we're acknowledging the losses that we've had, we validate that, and then we move forward with a vision board, we're all on a really great plan to really get through this in a very healthy way. And this could potentially grow and change our lives. Who would have thought, COVID-19 could actually be the springboard to change lives in America or in the world? Wouldn't that be wonderful? So just a reminder that our thoughts inform our emotions and our behaviors. And if you shift your outlook, it changes everything. And that's kind of a take-home message too, that when you get stuck in these negative thoughts or you get stuck in the doom and gloom or your anxiety, to be able to quickly shift yourself out of that. And you can go back to the strategy that I talked to you guys about using your wise mind. That if you're able to go back to that and really shift, it will create a shift in you permanently. The more you practice these things that I'm mentioning, the more that you practice deciding to wake up and having a different outlook every day, because I do believe it is a decision. We do have two decisions in life. We can wake up and look at all the things that aren't going well and all of our worry, or we can wake up and look at the things that that we are blessed with and that we have an opportunity to grow from. Struggle equals growth if we decide to see it that way. And so I encourage you guys to, think about those things. So here's my contact information. If you want a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, I'm happy to do that. I'm also recording this session. So if you're interested in having a recording of this, if you want to show this to your coworkers, if you want to show this to your friends, you're welcome to take it and use that however you see fit. I think just really kind of trying to dig in and helping our community it would be a great goal for all of us right now. So you're welcome to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I want to give people an opportunity to ask questions, make comments, whatever you guys would like to do as far as the dialogue is concerned. You have a little bit of time to do that. So you guys can unmute. I think we're good. Any questions, comments, ideas? No, hey, Jose. How are you? Any thoughts? Are my students going to be doing vision boards? I'm almost willing to give you extra credit for that.
Okay, I'm going to get extra credit for that then.
You got it.
Never turn down extra credit. Never, never.
Right,
Yeah.
Jose, you're not in graduate school, man.
I got my PhD.
I know, see? This overachiever, that's why he wants to do extra credit. Any thoughts, questions, anything like that? So like I mentioned, I'll be doing 2 sessions tomorrow, one for athletes and one for adolescents. And then on Monday, it'll be for children and parents. And so those sessions can be more interactive and more, we're going to be talking and processing more in those sessions about how adolescents are feeling, and maybe it's parents of adolescents or whatever the case may be, but could be problem solving and asking questions about my child specifically feels XYZ, what can I do here? I can be doing some of that, some quick recommendations for you guys. So awesome. All right, this is your last chance. Any questions?
Do you have toilet paper?
Hi, Diane. Thank you so much for joining. I just saw in the chat that you joined. So Diane is—
You're welcome. It's been great.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining. It's great to see, I can't really see you, but great to hear your voice.
All right. Thank you very much.
And
Michelle,
yes.
just a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Colin. He's a colleague that I work with at Our Lady of the Lake, and a lot of you on this, call, and they have you as as an instructor, and you're equally amazing. So thank you, though. Yeah, no. Again, email me, contact me if you have any questions. I'm happy to support you in any way that you need. And for those of you that are continuing to join the sessions moving forward, I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great— You're so welcome. Y'all have a great night, and get those vision boards going. I'm going to do mine.
When you do a vision
Good night.
board, you go big.
What's that?
When you do a vision board, do you want to go with reasonable goals, or you want to just shoot for beyond your expectations?
It's your vision board. Remember, whatever you put on that vision board, you can manifest.
Right.
Right. So that's the idea that, I mean, I think some of it is setting these big goals.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think, you know, I've had a lot of colleagues use vision boards with their clients, and again, with life coaching and like business coaching people in employment situations and that sort of thing. Those vision boards really, I mean, they're pretty awesome. They work. So whatever you manifest, you become. And I think
Yeah, I definitely believe that manifestation has worked really well for me in my life. I used to do it all the time. I've stopped, but I need to start again. So
awesome.
This is kind of that little push.
Yay, Mia, that's awesome. Thank you for validating that. I appreciate it because it does work. But again, the manifestation is about you in the morning and the evenings, really spending time kind of absorbing that. So part of it is what you do in between that makes that really manifest the way that it's supposed to.
Michelle, which is so foreign to call you, by the way.
I know. So Katie and I went to high school together.
Yes.
Yes.
Just last year.
Yeah, we went to high school last year together.